All right, let's dive right in. What we're talking about today is a piece of research so fundamental, it doesn't just change the conversation on mental health, it might actually create a whole new language for it. So get ready, because this could reshape everything you think you know about the human mind.
I want you to really sit with this question for a moment. What if all these different conditions we talk about, burnout, ADHD, PTSD, OCD, what if they aren't separate, isolated problems at all? What if they're all just different symptoms of one single underlying process happening in the brain? This isn't a thought experiment. This is the very foundation of a completely new way of understanding ourselves.
You know, for decades, our approach to mental health has been, well, a bit fractured. We've been like botanists who are obsessed with describing every single different type of leaf, but we never once thought to look down and examine the soil that all the trees are growing in.
And that's led us to this, a list of separate boxes. ADHD goes in this box, OCD goes over here, PTSD in another. And look, it makes sense on the surface. But this new way of thinking suggests that by doing this, we've been focusing on the branches. And what if the health of every single one of those branches is actually determined by what's happening way down at the root?
And that root cause, the single biological thread connecting all of this, it's neuroinflammation. Yep, chronic inflammation in the brain. This is the central clue, the thread we're going to pull on today, and you're about to see how it unravels this entire tangled web.
Okay, to really get this, we need a new concept. Just imagine your consciousness, your awareness right now, as a perfectly calm, clear lake. When it's still, your thoughts are organized, your perception is sharp. The theory calls this the consciousness field. But what happens when a storm kicks up? That storm is inflammation. And all of a sudden, that clear, calm water gets murky, chaotic, and distorted.
So how does this storm get started? Well, it's a four-step chain reaction. First, chronic inflammation ignites in the brain. This triggers what's called a cytokine cascade, which is basically the brain's alarm system going haywire, flooding the system with inflammatory signals. These signals then mess with really important brain receptors, the ones you need for learning and memory. And the final result? The very fabric of your consciousness, that calm lake, it starts to break down.
And let's be crystal clear, we are not talking about a little ripple here. I mean, look at these numbers. This is a biological hurricane. A 400% increase in an inflammatory marker like TNF-alpha. That's not a subtle shift. That is a massive, raging cytokine storm happening inside the brain. But here's the really fascinating puzzle. If the root cause, the storm, is the same for everyone, why does it create so many different symptoms? How can the same process lead to the scattered thinking of ADHD and the rigid, looping thoughts of OCD? Well, the answer isn't in the storm itself, but in how it disrupts the field of consciousness. Let's take ADHD. In this case, think of your attention like a beam of light. The neuroinflammatory storm acts like turbulence, scattering that beam so it can't stay focused on any one thing. It just constantly drifts. And this is so important. This is a biological failure of coherence, not a personal failure of will. Now, for OCD, the exact same underlying inflammation does almost the opposite. Instead of scattering the field, it traps it. It forces the consciousness field into a super stable, narrow, repeating loop. It's like that lake develops a powerful, inescapable whirlpool. That's what an obsessive thought is. It's not a choice. It's a state of consciousness that is literally trapped in an inflammatory loop. Okay, if your mind isn't already blown, get ready for this. It turns out this whole pattern, a field of awareness breaking down under stress, has a stunning parallel in artificial intelligence. When a large language model hits its context limit, its memory buffer, it starts to fragment. It loses track of the conversation, it can't build a coherent narrative. Sound familiar? It's as if we've stumbled onto a universal law for how information holds itself together, whether it's in our carbon-based brains or in a silicon chip.
So, if the problem is a storm disrupting the lake of consciousness, the solution is pretty clear, isn't it? You have to calm the biological waters and rebuild the field stability. And that's exactly what this new three-phase protocol is designed to do.
Phase 1 is all about putting out the fire. It's foundational. It targets that biological storm directly through things like personalized anti-inflammatory diets and supplements. And the best part? It's not a shot in the dark. By tracking those key inflammatory markers in the blood, you can literally watch the storm subside and see how it connects directly to feeling better. So, once the biological storm starts to calm down, we move to phase 2, actively restoring the consciousness field. This involves specific practices, like using biofeedback to literally train your body how to be more coherent,
or engaging in guided sessions with trained practitioners to help you find and stabilize that feeling of inner calm and clarity.
And the final phase is all about making this stick for the long run. This is integration and maintenance. Here, you combine the biological and the consciousness protocols, you keep an eye on the biomarkers for stability, and you build a daily practice and a community to support you. It's about empowering you to become the steward of your own mental well-being.
As you can probably guess by now, this is way more than just a new therapy. If this theory holds up, it's a genuine paradigm shift. The implications go far beyond just one person's treatment. They could change how we approach medicine, technology, and our fundamental understanding of the mind itself.
And this isn't just wishful thinking. The data from the source material is pointing towards multi-site clinical trials that are targeting a 67% reduction in symptoms. Just let that number sink in. A potential 2/3 reduction in the burden of these conditions simply by treating the root cause instead of endlessly chasing symptoms.
So what's the bottom line here? The implications are just massive. We're talking about a unified treatment for dozens of disorders, a true integration of biology and consciousness in medicine, a new way to design AI that doesn't break, a pathway for enhancing human potential, even brand new scientific methods for studying consciousness itself. It's nothing short of revolutionary. There's a line from the research that just perfectly captures the depth of all this. It says, "This research demonstrates consciousness studying consciousness through consciousness." Just think about that for a second. This isn't just us looking at something separate from ourselves. This is the human mind turning inward to finally understand its own nature. It's profound.
And this brings us to the final, really cool idea. The theory says that this new paradigm, this new way of seeing things, doesn't spread through argument or persuasion. It spreads through recognition. You hear it, and something just clicks. You start to see the pattern. So the question I'll leave you with isn't whether you're convinced, it's just, are you ready to see the pattern? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that changes everything.